Hi and welcome back to AstroBabushka. Today I discuss Jupiter and Venus conjunction on 12 August 2025. And I'd like to begin this important discussion on global financial, economic, and political processes from an astrological perspective by emphasizing that I do not politically or economically take sides, or at least I make every effort not to. I'm purely an astrologer and I view and interpret events through the lens of the cosmos and the universe, so to speak. I'll discuss them without emotional coloring, without name calling, without aligning myself with any particular side. If this format resonates with you, welcome. So let's begin. This conjunction of Jupiter and Venus coincides with a very significant aspect between the outer planets, one that is reshaping the architecture of the political order. The Jupiter-Venus conjunction itself is a powerful moment for initiating new trends, especially when it occurs in a sign associated with information, logistics, and trade. Gemini. This particular conjunction launches a new cycle, almost 3 years long, in the financial, economic, and market reality. And while Jupiter-Venus conjunctions happen roughly once a year, they are often invisible. According to astrological ancient books, the importance of planetary conjunctions, just like eclipses or other celestial phenomena, should be evaluated taking into account their visibility or invisibility from Earth. So, why does this particular conjunction launch a 3-year cycle? Because the next significant and visible Jupiter-Venus conjunction will only occur in November 2028. This cycle begins at 19 degrees in Gemini, in Ardra nakshatra, pada 4, right next to the star Sirius. And this slice of the sky will influence the world until November 2028, when the next conjunction will take place. We are standing at the threshold of a global reset of the financial order, where power will be secured not so much through military force, but through control of ideologies, narratives, and digital liquidity. Let's break it down. Jupiter is ideology, institutions, courts, religion, education. Venus is money, comfort, art, feminine power, agreements. Gemini is digitalization, contracts, logistics, marketing, media. Ardra, it's revolutionary technologies, dismantling of old systems, deep cleansing. Sirius, it's a royal crown, rulership, legitimacy of power. For mundane astrology, especially when we are talking about a global financial cycle, it's best to cast the chart of universal time and use the prime meridian, usually Greenwich, UK. That way we get an astrological projection not for the entire planet, not tied to any single country. In the world chart for this conjunction, we get a mercurial ascendant, meaning the focus will be on digital infrastructure, intellect, and artificial intelligence, contracts, fintech, blockchain, propaganda, and logistics. It occurs in Ardra nakshatra, which hints at the collapse of the old, potentially through some kind of revelation or exposure. This chart symbolizes the launch of a crisis-driven reform cycle. Ardra is Nadi nakshatra, associated with deep transformations through destruction. This time the conjunction happens very close to Sirius, the star of royal power. The cycle is connected to themes of imperial legitimacy, elite agreements, and symbolic coronations in the financial sphere. There's also a link to a pivotal victory of the United States in the World War II. To explain, Sirius was active in the US solar return chart in the moment of victory in World War II. According to the traditional star lore, Sirius with Jupiter in natal charts is all about success in business, politics, and military affairs, and Sirius with Venus in natal charts is all about comfort, luxury, great inheritance. And in short, we could sum up this period as through hardships to the stars. Ardra is destruction, it destroys illusion and reveals the truth, often through crisis. Information, trade, and financial processes go through crisis and reset in order to reach a new level. The ruler of nakshatra Ardra is Rahu in Aquarius. Again, pulling everything toward technology, digital platforms, transnational structures, and networked financial models. The Jupiter-Venus conjunction in Ardra occurs in the fourth pada. In the Navamsha, this falls in Pisces, the sign of endings, the water element, the symbol of sacrifice, reset, and mystical initiation. So the conjunction happens in nakshatra of radical purification, but the inner essence, Navamsha, is mystical reset and alignment with the cosmic will, so to speak. Venus and Jupiter in Pisces Navamsha is all about wisdom raised to the highest degree, because Venus in Pisces is exalted, which means all Venusian themes reach their maximum potential. And let's not forget that Rahu is the ruler of Ardra, does not know where or how to stop. The word no simply does not exist for him. The potential of Venus is art, love, money, enjoyment, and Jupiter is a ruler of Pisces, is at home in Svakshetra. This yoga can, without exaggeration, be called a yoga of divine grace and blessing. On one side, supreme wisdom and generosity. On the other, the possibility of great deception if the energy is used in an illusory way because of Neptunian aspect and influence. So then, we need to look at Neptune. In what condition does it stand in this chart? So in Rasi chart, it is in 10th house in conjunction with Saturn in Uttara Bhadra Pada nakshatra, ruled by Saturn again, in the second pada, which is Virgo Navamsha. It is under precise aspect from Mars in the 4th house in Virgo, and it forms a kite aspect pattern with outer planets, exactly by degree. Sextile to Uranus in Taurus and sextile to Pluto in Capricorn. Then, in the Navamsha, the picture becomes even more interesting. Saturn and Neptune are together in Virgo in the 8th house, casting a direct, precise 7th house aspect onto a powerful planetary cluster in the 2nd house in Pisces. It's Uranus, Pluto, Mars, Venus, and Jupiter all together there. This is truly remarkable. Those of you who have seen my previous video will understand my amazement that drawn bowstring aspect pattern I've been talking about all month, the kite, is clearly forming here as well. And it directly ties into the economic and financial trend for the next 3 years. In simple terms, on top of the Pluto return of the United States, the Uranus return in 2026, we also have the return of Jupiter-Venus conjunction to the US natal chart. And it's happening right on the star Sirius. Yes, that's right. And United States history, there have only been 3 Jupiter-Venus conjunctions this close to in degree to the natal positions. I spent a couple hours and I went through every Jupiter-Venus conjunction since the Declaration of Independence in 1776 and found following dates. So, May 12, 1812. Jupiter in Venus was together at 14 degree Gemini in nakshatra Ardra pada 3, unlike now when they were in pada 4. So back then, the US was on the brink of a war with Britain, and Britain was actively undermining key sectors of the US economy. Next, July 21st, 1859. Jupiter and Venus were together at 17 degree in Gemini, in nakshatra Ardra, and now it was pada 4, the fourth part of the sign. So here it was happening during intense tariff debates that foreshadowed the split between the North and South. It's worth noting that the similarity to the current situation. In 1859, work began on the Morrill tariff, which raised tariff rates and became low after the Civil War has begun. And the third conjunction that close in degree was in August 2nd, 1942, and it was at 18 degree in Gemini, in nakshatra Ardra, pada 4, and that obviously was around the age of World War II, and the US launched its first major offensive of World War II, the Guadalcanal campaign, which became the turning point in the Pacific theater. This operation halted Japan's expansion and allowed the Allies to go on the offensive. And now, August 2025, the conjunction falls at 19 degree Ardra. As we can see in all previous cases, the events were of massive historic significance. Let's go a bit deeper into the theory of the fixed star Sirius. In Eastern and Slavic mythology, Sirius is symbolized as the winged dog, the solar hound Simurg, or Senmurf, or Simargl, guardian of the tree of life, tree of knowledge. The seeds and shoots it bears, including spiritual ones. This being is known for aiding the most worthy of those who truly need. Sirius is considered a catalyst for events of global significance. Important astrological conjunctions with Sirius and mundane charts or during transits can link the actions of individuals and entire national programs to universal purpose and the broader evolutionary process of the planet. And I would also like to point out another unexpected fact I stumbled upon while preparing for this video. Sirius rises and becomes visible on August 11, 2025, in the part of the United States where the cities of New York and Washington are located, the day before the exact conjunction of Jupiter and Venus. A heliacal rising is the first visible appearance of a star or planet in the morning sky before sunrise. Why it is significant? Because it marks an important moment in the celestial cycle and can hold cultural and historical meaning. For example, in ancient Egypt, the heliacal rising of Sirius was the key indicator of the annual flooding of the Nile and therefore the most important event for agriculture. In ancient Greece, the most important star was the constellation of the Pleiades, and the heliacal rising of Pleiades was the beginning of the navigation season for them. And for example, in Indian astrology, the heliacal rising of Canopus star was used to forecast the rains and was believed to influence the purity of the water. This is why this is yet another coincidence in this conjunction that is, in truth, far from being just a coincidence. So let's return to the main theme and to the fact that the core of this Jupiter-Venus cycle is literally plugged directly onto the architecture of the outer planets and operates in resonance with global civilizational planetary processes. This cycle, lasting until 2028, will not simply be economic. It will be an initiation through crisis, with the possibility of either emerging into harmony and higher values or becoming mired in a collective illusions. So D1 chart or Rasi chart, the main one. The Jupiter-Venus cycle is about the purification of values through crisis. In the public sphere, this will manifest as new economic ideals, rescue reforms, or global alliances. But Neptune plus Saturn in the 10th house suggests that these reforms will be strictly managed and could also take the form of utopian illusions presented as progress. Deeper layer and divisional chart D9 or Navamsha. Here we see the active 2nd, 8th house axis with the entire financial construct of the cycle under the tight control of shadow and depth-based structures, 8th house. What will be publicly called values, which is 2nd house, will in fact be the result of hidden redistributions of resources, and all 3 outer planets, Uranus, Pluto, Neptune, are directly tied into Jupiter and Venus in close aspect. To sum up the reasoning above, in D1, in the outer perspective, Neptune is in the 10th house in Uttara Bhadrapada, ruled by Saturn and Virgo Pada, and a serious and heavily loaded function connected to governance and global structures. It is conjunct Saturn, so idealism combined with strict form or utopianism wrapped in bureaucracy and control. It is under the exact aspect from Mars in the 4th house in Virgo, and it's a direct clash between action Mars and ideology or illusion Neptune in the sphere of governance. Then there is this kite aspect pattern, sextile to Uranus in Taurus, which is new values, technology, and sextile to Pluto in Capricorn, which is total transformation of power and structures. So Neptune here, answering the question a little bit above, is built into a global configuration of change, not floating in isolation. In the Vamsha chart, Saturn, Neptune, and Virgo in the 8th house, house of oil. So it's all about uncovering the hidden, restructuring deep economic and resource system. 8 houses, crisis, shared resources, the debt system. This is what USA trying to do nowadays. They try to lower their outer debt. So the 7th aspect from this conjunction falls on the 2nd house in Pisces, where there's a parade of planets, Uranus, Pluto, Mars, Venus, and Jupiter. And this means that all themes of the 2nd house, which are wealth, values, reserves, directly depend on the transformations driven by Saturn and Neptune. So in the Vamsha, it's as if the financial control panel or remote is located in an 8th house with the Saturn Neptune, while the 2nd house packed with concentrated power. And it will respond to every movement of that control panel or remote. Why I consider this as a wow factor? It's a rare to see an exalted Venus and Jupiter in their own sign together in the same house in D9, receiving a direct aspect from Saturn-Neptune conjunction in the 8th house. And with this link threaded through Uranus and Pluto, this configuration points either to great rise of spiritual financial principles, for example, a new ethical economy, genuine rejection of destructive models, or to a great deception where the illusion of harmony masks a massive redistribution of wealth in favor of a narrow group of elite. In the light scenario, the probabilities are as follows: 2025 to 2026, launch of digital reforms with elements of transparency; 2026 to 2027, strengthening of alliances, initiation of joint technological projects; and 2027 to 2028, consolidation of the system balance between blocks establishment of new international trade rules. Now let's see the dark scenario, and the probabilities are 2025 to 2026. The idea of a new ethical economy is presented as a beautiful wrapper, not the real thing. 2026 to 2027, implementation of a total CBDCs, tightening of sanctions, complete phasing out of cash from circulation. In 2027 to 2028, centralization of control in the hands of a narrow coalition, the redistribution of assets, crisis in peripheral economies. Let's take a closer look at both scenarios. Light scenario here, the outcome is more balanced and fair global economic model. Neptune, Saturn in the 10th house tells us that the ideals take a clear structured form in governments rather than dissolving into utopianism. 8th house in Navamsha aspects the 2nd house containing Jupiter, Venus, Pluto, Uranus, and Mars, tells us that resources are managed in a balanced way and transformations are transparent. The economic manifestations can be, number one, real reforms of the financial system, implementation of international transparency standards for digital currencies and tokenized assets. Can be cracked down on offshore havens and shadow settlements. Number two, ethics in investment. What it can be growth of ESG and socially responsible investment, not just in name, but through real oversight of projects. Number three, digital infrastructure for all, affordable digital credit access for small and medium-sized businesses, global payment platforms not monopolized by a single country. Number four, commodity balance. Here is a clear international rules for energy resource trade. Minimization of energy crisis, political manifestations can be cooperation between blocs such as BRICS and G7 for financial stability rather than only rivalry. Peaceful technology alliances, for example, joint standards for AI and blockchain. Long-term peace agreements in regions with chronic conflicts based on economic arrangements, which are trade incentives in exchange for stability. In the dark scenario, an exalted Venus and strong Jupiter in Pisces in the Vamsha chart create the illusion of divine order and beauty, but under the control of the 8th house, which mean values are transferred into the hands of a narrow elite. Neptune in the 8th house of D1 or natal chart, Rasi under Mars aspect indicates that ideals are turned into tools of manipulation, resource wars, and information operations. Uranus and Pluto in aspect point to radical but covertly managed reforms. Possible economic manifestations here. Number one, digital currencies as a control tool. CBDCs become mandatory. Cash effectively disappears. Built-in mechanisms for surveillance and blocking of transactions are implemented. Number two, masking wealth redistribution under the guise of green reforms and ethical economy. Capital is concentrated in the hands of transnational elites. Number three, market manipulation. Artificially triggered crises, like in the currency field or stock market, emerge, like mushrooms after rain, to allow asset buy-ups at deflated prices. Number four, energy dependency, and here it is creation of energy hubs under the control of a narrow coalition dictating prices and conditions. Which political manifestations in the dark scenario to expect? Number one, financial blockades of countries that do not comply with the rules of the new World Bank. Number two, false alliances, agreements that promise benefits but in reality cement dependency. Number 3, large-scale information operations, shaping a unified ethical narrative behind which strict control mechanisms are hidden. And is so often the case in life, we will most likely see a mix of both these energies, light and dark, with manifestations unfolding along both probability branches at the same time. Here, I would like to remind you that the law of attraction is still in effect. No one has deleted it. The brighter your own thoughts and the higher your own frequency, the energy of your the frequency of your energy, the greater the likelihood of finding yourself in the manifestation of the light probability branch. So I think we can wrap up the general analysis here with a few brief answers to the questions I posed to myself about the leading world powers. In the next video, I'll present a much more detailed analysis by country and for key world figures and personalities. So, simple question, the first that I got to myself: who benefits under this planetary configuration? So, United States, of course. Unfortunately for some, and fortunately to others, the conjunction of the natal Venus, Jupiter, Sun in the 7th house points to the re-establishment of alliances plus the creation of a regulatory framework for digital currencies and markets. The gain comes through new rules and the export of financial influence. UK transit in the 5th house, and it is a revival of the City of London, tokenization of assets, role as a global financial hub, structural innovations becoming the main office of world capital. The King, 12th house, recedes into the background while William, with his active 7th house and Rahu, becomes the face of a new capital diplomacy. India. In the independence chart, the transit is in the 2nd house without strong afflictions to any natal planets. So it is an opportunity window for building reserves, long-term oil deals, and fintech expansions while maintaining neutral balance between blocks. For Russia, for the 2nd chart of Russia that I use in addition to the main one, wildly known. So I would say this forecast is somewhat experimental, so we will see if it works. So, and the transit is in the 9th house over Mercury and Sun and sextile to Uranus. So it's rewiring of the foreign economic doctrine, unexpected alliances outside the dollar orbit. Next question to myself is who loses financial autonomy? And the first one is Germany, because it's in the Germany's 12th house, and can be shifted into closed budgets, can be moving the economy into the backrooms, growth of off-balance shit funds, dependence on supranational European Union mechanism. So for the parts of Latin America and Africa, for the European Union periphery, satellites of major blocks, it can be integration into the settlement systems of senior partners and therefore reduced sovereign maneuverability or reduced sovereignty. Unregulated crypto industry, and here will be increased filtering. Autonomy decreases, with survival only for those integrated into the legal system. Next question, where are the major alliances are forming? I would say USA and UK. Washington sets the regulation narrative and London implements the infrastructure for the tokenized asset market. For Russia and BRICS bloc, it can be energy and technology deals, settlements in national currencies, alternative clearing systems. For China, it is activating its 6th house of labor industry, and I would expect industrial logistics clubs, semi-offshore channels, tech alliances, and hidden 12th house channels. And the next question for myself, where are Black Swan events are possible in this 2.5 to 3 years? So for the USA and global markets, it can be shock regulation of stablecoins and CBDCs, sharp reallocation of liquidity. For China, because it squares the 9th house with Rahu and very close to Uranus, it can be logistical or technological force majeure, changing supply chains and trade rules. For Russia, main chart, it's in the 10th house and it's square to Mars 7th house, in the 7th house. And I would expect spike in sanctions, escalation there, alongside with a profitable resource deal because there's a trine to Venus in the 8th house. So crypto market, here for Bitcoin, for example, the major player in this crypto market, it's in the 12th house. So here, possible subsequent reimagining of Bitcoin's role in as a forbidden gold because of the activation of the themes of the 12th house. So, and to wrap it up, brief country outlook through 2028. For USA, it's leadership through rules and narrative, re-establishment of alliances, periodic waves of strict crypto stablecoin regulation. For UK, revival of the City of London, tokenization, royal agenda, partial or full transfer of functions to William. For China, I would expect labor and logistics reform, hidden channels, points of instability followed by sudden tactical moves. For Russia, main chart, confrontation plus deals. For secondary chart, architects of alternative blocks and agreements. For India, accumulation of reserves, advantageous energy deals, balancing between two camps. For Germany, backstage economy, closed budgets, influence through European Union mechanisms, and behind-the-scenes negotiations. And last but not least, the essence of this video is a key global trends through November 2028. Number 1, reset of the financial architecture, transition from flat systems to multi-tier digital currencies, CBDCs, stablecoins, tokenized assets. Jupiter and Venus in Mercurial sign, financial innovation via trade, fintech, marketplaces. Introduction of blockchain regulations at the intergovernmental level. Number 2, growth of regional alliances, economic policy less dependent on the single global centers and more reliant on block-based exchange systems. Parallel existence of multiple world settlement currencies. Number 3, information markets, and it is new stock exchanges in Gemini because information is a commodity. Growth of a data-driven economy based on algorithms and AI services. Jupiter law, Venus value, and that's we all really need in the current era is a creation of a legal framework for trading data and intellectual property in the digital sphere. Number 4, financial polarization, because Ardra is a crisis, symbol of Ardra is a crisis, and so there will be initial collapses in certain markets, especially the bubble ones, the speculative sectors, to clear the playing field. The gap between rich and poor countries will widen, but financial elevators will appear for states quick enough to integrate into new chains. Number 5, role of allied alliances. Here, Sirius gives the seal of a select circle of influential players who set the rules. And by 2028, close coordination between major corporations, banks, and political centers will intensify. Number 6, waves of crypto market regulation. After 2025, the crypto sector enters a phase of strict filtering. Some projects will move into the shadows, others will be integrated into state systems. Legal crypto platforms will operate under banking standards. So expected timeline here, 2025 to 2026 will be crisis and regrouping stage, the most chaotic and volatile stage. Dismantling old rules, first steps in digital currency adoption. 2026 to 2027, stabilization of new settlement mechanisms. And here will be growth of regional economic alliances. And 2027 to 2028, consolidation of the new architecture, cementing the leadership of those who integrated early. That's all for me for today. I'll see you in the next video where we'll dive into an analysis of the influence of fateful Jupiter-Venus conjunction with Sirius on the world powers and key influential figures.